Welcome to All Horse Racing All the Time. I'm your host, Al. Monday morning. I don't expect anybody to be out here. I figured I'd do something a little bit different this morning. I'm going to start handicapping the Parx card. I plan on doing a live show today, and I figure I'd bring you behind the scenes. I have not looked at any of these races, so you'll get to see the handicapping process, what I go through when I prep for a card, for a show. When I go out here, when I do these live shows, it's 3:45 in the morning right now. I've been up about a half hour or so. I just heated up some coffee, and I set up the thumbnail and stuff for the show, for this recording. So I figured I'll come out here and go from scratch. Maybe some of you can watch the replays of this, and if you want to get an idea of what I look for when I start handicapping a races without having looked at anything first. And we're going to go from there. I brought up some of the PPs. I have not seen any of these yet. Now I brought up the first three PPs, and then I'll download the rest of them as I move along the card. I doubt I get through all 10 races scheduled at Parx today with a 12:40 p.m. start. So I'm seeing these races for the very first time, and I do have coffee, so I'm having my very first cup. Do I usually start this early? Not quite this early, but usually before 5 o'clock. But yeah, I got a good night's sleep. I turned in kind of early last night at around, actually a little before 9 o'clock. Watched the end of the golf tournament yesterday. They had a 2-hole playoff, and so it's the end of a baseball game. And so I'm pretty well rested. I got a little over 6 hours, I guess, of sleep. And then I got the coffee going, and I heated up what was left of yesterday's coffee in the pot. And that was Death Wish coffee, which 5 times the strength of Starbucks. So I'm having that, get shot out of the cannon here, be nice and sharp as I look over this card. And if you are out here, anybody is out here, I want to wish you a very good morning. We're out here nice and early. So when I do these shows, you'll see I prep for these shows. I just don't go out there and wing it. Even if I don't get to do a show today for whatever reasons, I want to have picks available to provide the players who usually join the show. At least you'll get to see who I like, and you get an idea. Maybe it gives you something, another horse to consider or two when you go into each race. So yeah, I prep. I'm not throwing at a dartboard. Even when I don't do a show, a live show, and I provide picks, you've seen I've done that before. I'm not just pulling horses out of my ass. I do the work in advance either way, because even if I don't do a live show, I might want to play something myself, and we'll go from there. So we're going to start the process right from the beginning. I have the TV on. They're racing at Newcastle. No, I'm not betting at Newcastle. Just add some ambiance to the whole mood as we move forward. I want to say, Bobby, hey, how's it going, brother? Hey, Bobby. Good morning, Bobby. Who was it? Somebody borrowed from the retirement account for. Good to see you, Bobby. Yeah, I'm going to start handicapping these races. How's it going? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm going to start here. I haven't even looked at anything yet, so we're going to start right from the beginning. So I'll be focusing mostly on these races, on these PPs. So we're going to start right from the beginning. And who is it? Iman, hi, how are you? It's so late. It's actually early. Yeah, it is. Well, it's actually early in the morning here. It's just before 4 o'clock. How's it going? Bashar, good to see you. Yeah, I'm just getting started. I'm looking at these races I'm going to be looking at these races for the very first time. And so you'll get to see what I look for when I break down a race starting from scratch. So let's take a look at this first race. And we'll see. I'll take you through the thought process. It's a 7 furlong race, a claiming race. Okay, I'm not going to go through all the details, but I downloaded the Brisnet PPs. You can get them for free. There's a link down below where you can get free Brisnet PPs. So what I do here, I'm going to look how many entries we have. That's the first thing. I get a shot at what I'm looking at. Of course, there's no scratches yet. I don't look at I make sure to avoid looking at the opening odds because I don't want to be swayed in any way, form. I want to make my own judgments of the horses and get an idea of my own line, who I'm going to be looking at. Okay, so I see there's 7 entries. And then there's 8 entries, and I get a quick glance at some of the buyer figures from the DRF site. So I'm working off of those, and also the Brisnet, primarily the Brisnet. I'm going to see if there are any that look too slow. Try and get an idea of the do a first scan to see if any look too slow, and from there I'm going to start look at form cycles. Try and give a glance and see what direction, based on the speed numbers, what horse seems to be moving in the right direction or the wrong direction, or which ones move in and out, which direction they're heading. At first glance here, I give a scan and it jumps out at me the patterns, but whether it jumps out at you or not, you can still look for those patterns and see and spot it for yourself by the numbers. And I could see that number 1 is moving in the right direction, and I look at the class also. I see it's a claiming 10K race. And I see that some of these are, 1 seems to be moving in the right direction, 2 is moving in the wrong direction, 3 is moving in these are not that good, these horses. 3 is going, looks like second with a trainer change. Now it's 7 furlong. 3 is jumping out already over the 1 and the 2. 3 is leaping for Candy. Should be able to get the distance. The last race was a mile, and it's at this level. We'll finish second. So 3 looks like the standout out of the first. Not happy with the 4. You got a weak trainer there. 5, I don't like at all. It does have 1 good race at the distance in December, but no, I don't like it. 6 looks a little interesting. 7 is concerned. At first glance, I'm looking at the 3 here. This might even be a single race. That's been trying a while too. Let me just bring something. Let's see. 3 leaping for Candy. Oh, 3 is 4-1. Okay. Yeah, I've looked through them quickly there. Leaping for Candy. Okay. Second start with the team. This trainer is 17%. Frankie Pennington is 29% at this meet. If anybody is commenting, I'm not ignoring them. I will be going back to the chat, here and there, but I'm just giving it the first look right here. That last race was a big improvement, and it showed with this trainer. It showed that it could go towards the front a little bit. So not that strong. These are not good. 10K, cheap ones, but you got the good jock. Running styles. They don't list any as early speed types or this race. I go to the bottom of the Brisnet charts. It shows there are a few closers, 4 closers in this race. I'm liking the 3 so far. Now, this is the first time through the card. So, and I'm going to be going through it again later on after the scratches. 6 and 7. 7. How about 6? 6. 0 for 21. He's finished third 3 times in a row. How about at the distance? 5 tries, a second and a third. In the money, 10 out of 19 at Parx. I try to look for the races that are pertinent here, and the ones that really aren't, I try, give it a glance, but main focus is on the races that fit today's race. They list this one as a closer, the 6, but it seems to do its faster running early. If these Brisnet PPs, you got to go the extra mile on your own, because these are computer generated, and sometimes they get the running style off. And that seems to be the case with this one. I think this one's running at a mile a couple of times, and I think it should benefit a bit from going back to 7. Even then, at 7, it's not really 7 furlongs. It really hasn't done much. Pace-wise, what can we expect here from these? Go down to number 7. Okay, 7. Okay, 7 looks like it's going to get it. I'm looking at the early speed numbers here, and this one usually is near the front. And this one does look like this early speed of the race by quite a big margin as I scan down the line here. Even over the 3, 2, Only Girl has some early speed. 10 to 10 for 10K. It's in for 10K again. It's 4 races at the distance in 2 seconds. It's been running at 6 furlongs lately. And I could see that it's been beaten by a few of them that are in this race. Over Blue Sky, number 4, it's been beaten by. Escalade, it's been beaten by that one. That's the 6. I could see why the numbers are just dreadful. 47, 44, 49, 50. Oh, geez. I don't even, 10 to 1 seems a kind opening odds for this one. I'd say the odds of this one winning have to be over 10 to 1. Trainer is weak, 6%. Jockey is weak here, 6%. I figure it's going to be part of the pace, though. It'll be running towards the front early. Now, this one's 0 for 27 lifetime. Has only 2/3, so I think it'll just be a pretender early. And one is coming. You see, I shoot around a little bit early. First time through. This number 1 opens at 10K. It is dropping in class today. And you got a solid trainer, 18% trainer here and 45 tries, 15% going back till start of 2022. Going first time through the card, looking at these races for the first time. Now, I started at 3:45, and you can see I've been on this race now for almost 10 minutes, and this is just the first time through. So I give these a good once over, and I want to be prepared. If I'm going to be playing the races and I'm going to be putting money on these things, or I'm going to be sharing my selections with others, I want to know what I'm talking about, and I want to give everybody, myself included, a fair shake here. So when I do these shows, and here it is, it's 4 a.m. I started 10 minutes ago. I get ready for these shows early, and I'm still going to be looking at it again when I go after the scratches, and then of course I'll be looking at it again a third time when I'm doing a show. So. I've been a winning player since 2011, and this is the type of prep work I put in. No, I put more prep work into it when I do the shows, But either way, I'll prepare in advance when I'm playing. This way, when this way, come race time, I have more time to put into structuring my tickets, checking out the board. You do the early prep work. It leaves more time for other important aspects of the game if you're playing as well. I like the fact this one it jumped forward last time. And this one has some early speed too, and a jockey's 10%. I know that it has a flimsy figure here of 46, and it hasn't. I mean, it's been beaten open lengths every single time. 4 straight fifth place finishes, but the beaten lengths 11, 21, 25, 11. But this one could be better than that. And it's making its second race start at Parx, and it did show some speed last time. It does look like it has halfway a mucho macho man, some decent breeding. I think 1 is definitely a consideration just because it moved forward last time and it has some speed and it's taking the class drop. So, and none of the others in here, I'm scanning down. The 7 is taking a class. The only one they're taking a class drop is 7. So I think 1 is definitely one to consider off the first draft, but let me just look a little bit more at it. Yeah, it should be part of the pace. But 7 is going to get the jump. Let me just check back here for a second. Good luck. Okay, Imran, thank you very much. Have a great day today. Okay, now going back to this. I'm not in love with the 7. I mean, it's very consistent, but I think it's going to get tested. And that 7, with the early speed, 5-star Fran, has never run here before. It's running at Laurel, and I think it's going to get tested early by the 1 and the 2. And I'm going back to the 3 a second with Pennington, and 3 does have some back races that are just better than the others. So I'm definitely writing down 3. 3 it looks like the main contender from what I see so far, and the connections, and came in second last race, and it was second start with the team. Pennington, Ronald Dandy is the trainer. I think this one's moving in the right direction. Dandy, 10% at the meet. Frankie Pennington. I got to go 3. I think 3 right off the bat is the first. The others just look so weak by the numbers. I just can't. I just can't go there. 5 is just terrible. 6, I can't. 6 does get back to 6 does get back to sprinting, which I think is going to help. I know it's been trying a long time to break through, but you get a decent trainer here and a strong jock. Silvestri is up 18%. For Howard Brown, 14% trainer. This is a closing type. But I don't think it's going to be too. It'll be back. It's gotten beaten by some of these in here. I would think 3 would be the single in this race. Underneath, just based on the early speed alone and the jock on the 7, I think that's a consideration with Sanchez up, 5-star Fran. Comes off a halfway decent effort, probably be right near the front, if not in front. But maybe not. He has at least tried the distance a couple of times, in the money both times. So definitely 7. Do I like it for the win? I don't know. I'll have to think about it if I play a pick 3, if I add this one just because of the speed factor. It's shipping in for Edward Allard. With shippers, he's 20%. And yeah, this one's never ran on the track. That's a concern. Maiden claiming, Edwards is 22%. And it is dropping in class. So, yeah, the early speed, the class drop. The jockey is strong. Barbosa, 19% jock. And Barbosa rode this one the last time at Laurel and riding it again. So definitely 7. Can I make a case for any of the others? How far do I want to go with this? That's the question. Do I want to use that 6? Include that 6 in this first draft. What about 4? Let me just look at this 6. Do I want the 6? What a weak group. I think second. This is a race for first. I like 1. I like 1 that 1 showed some improvement and slightly raced, makes its second start at Parx. The weak numbers, but I like the rail and the early pace. How's the rail playing at this distance? 67 races at this distance, rail. 22%. Yeah, so the inside's pretty good. 1 did show some early speed last race, and by the connections, 18% trainer, 10% jock, maiden claiming 13%. It had the lead at the first call last race, dropping from 16 to 10. Yeah, definitely got to use the 1. Those are the ones that stand out at me right here. Okay, the numbers on the 1 aren't as fast, but I think it's moving in the right direction. I mentioned that earlier. Just by the trainer, number 6, 4, 6. I mean, I'm not going to take this one any further than this right now. I'll look again at the second draft, but I see my main contenders here as 3 and 7. 1 is one to keep an eye on, but I think 3 looks like the one to beat. Let's take a look at the opening odds on these here. 3, Leaping Candy, 4 to 1. Okay. 7. 5-star Fran, 2 to 1. The early speed horse, they're making 2 to 1. After looking at this here for a good 20 minutes, 20 minutes for a race. After looking at this here for first time through, again, I'm going to be looking at these again. I think 7 is going to get challenged up front. And it is making its first start at Parx. And 3 has Pennington and a solid trainer and a big improvement. Second with the team, this guy, 17%. Had the best race last race. 3 races at Parx, a second and a third. I think this one, I know it opens up 4 to 1 and the 7 opens 2 to 1. I got to think the 3. I think if we get 8-5 on this one, that would be a great deal. Or, but yeah, I like 3 best in the first race. Okay, let's start looking at race number 2. If you're joining us, or I'm out here looking at these races at Parx today for the first time. They have 10 races on the card. Haven't seen any of these, so if you're interested, I'm taking you through the handicapping process. What I look for when I'm looking at the cards and looking at the PPs for the very first time. So you get an idea some of the things I look for and how this unfolds as how I come up with some of these contenders. Okay. In the second race, we got a mile and a 16th. Okay. For fillies, 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 2 races. Okay. Again, I'm going to go back, and the first thing I'm going to do is look at some of the yeah, I think 3 next race is definitely first race is definitely going to wind up favored. And he looks like the best one. Even the last buyer figure was much higher than the others. And I know now I'm seeing the buyer figure on the 4 was pretty high. I didn't really like the 4, and I see it's 9-2. The first race for that one, I think that's one that I would use for multi-race plays. Second place looks like a wide open fair, but first place I've narrowed it down to the 3-7 and maybe the 1 a little bit, making the drop from 16K down to 10K. Now we go on to race 2. I see we have 8 entries. And now again, I'm going to make a quick scan through the PPs and see exactly what we're up against here, and see, and from the PPs and the numbers and the patterns, I get an idea scrolling down who is a factor and who isn't. As I scroll down here, I hate the ones races. 1 has good numbers, but on Tapeta, but the races on dirt have not been good. 2 looks fairly. It seems to be moving somewhat in the right direction. 3 looks a little slower than the 2. 4 is jumping out at me. American Pride. Guys, I noticed that. Notice if you look at the PPs that the races are getting better, and it does have a big number at Churchill Downs compared to this group anyway. Going back, it's first race. 6, I like the way 6 is moving. 6 seemed to jump forward. Now, this is a mile 16th. So far, the 2 seems to has run a race at a mile here at Parx. Yeah, first time through, so I'm shooting around, letting my eyes pick up the pattern, and then, of course, I'm going to look closer at it. I'm getting an idea, a snapshot in my mind. So I jump around the first time through. If I did this on a show, I'd drive people nuts. But I do this now. This way I don't have to do this on the fly. So far, 2 is jumping out. 4 a bit, 7 a bit. 4 only because I know it ran at Aqueduct in February, but with a horrible number, what happened? It was at a higher level. It does have that good first race at Churchill. It looks like it won its maiden race, and then just hasn't been the same. It won for Brad Cox the first race, American Pride. 8 has a pattern that I'm looking at. Not 8-5. I don't like it. It seems like it ran a halfway decent race last race. It's getting spotted weight, and but every time it runs a halfway decent race, it seems to regress. And I don't like the race that it ran at a mile 70. I don't like the jockey. Number 8 looks very strong. I like it that it ran some route races. Looking back, that fit this. Okay. Let's look at some figures here, buyer numbers. Wow, very evenly matched race, and that doesn't surprise me, at least by the opening odds. Everyone is between 3-1 and 6-1, with the exception of number 7, Serenetta, 12-1. So they're going to make you earn it here, folks. Give you a challenging race, but I don't think it's as challenging as these odds suggest. What about pace? We're going to scroll down and look at the pace figures here. We're running styles at the bottom of the Brisnet. If anybody does need Brisnet PPs, we got it down below. If you're just joining us, welcome to Old Horse Racing All the Time. I'm Al, your host, and we got started here 3:45 a.m. Looking at the card, these races, the PPs for Parx today, Monday, April 17th, for the very first time. So I'm taking you behind the scenes how I look these races over when I first get started. Okay, no early speed types. They have a few early pressing types, and who win the race 16%. And since there's no early speeds, so they would more or less be the early speeds here. Looks like Say No More showed the most early speed last time. I'm going to go back to 3 for a second here. Okay, 3. What weak numbers? At the distance, 0 for 2. Did show some early speed. Let's see. I'm just going to give a glance to the numbers. 1 has like almost no early speed. Yeah, it's like listed as a closer. 2, 1 at the distance, 0 for 4. But 1 win in 33 starts, number 1. Can you believe that? Is getting a big weight break. Comes in at 113 pounds. Three is the speed, but 4 has speed. And look at 4's first race. A mile at Churchill, ran a 74 and hasn't come close to that since, but it does seem to be moving back towards it. What happened in the race for at Aqueduct in February of back in February? Used to be trained by Thomas Morley. That's Maggie Wolfendale, now Maggie Morley. That's her husband. Her husband, Thomas Morley, used to train the 4, and now it's with Joseph Taylor, who is a strong trainer. At least solid. He's 13% at this meet. And it seems to be starting to get back on track here. And that's 74. And now I talk about form cycles. Started off big and moved backwards, and now it's starting to move forward again. America's Pride. Well, yeah. 3 is going to most likely be the front runner here. I can't get behind the 3, though. Front runner or not. Trainer is 7% over 100 races. Jockey is 7%. This Jorge Perez has written it every time. I just can't go there. I don't like the 3. And the other one, Now, I don't like the 1 either. It's done its best running on Tapeta at Woodbine. On dirt recently, it's been awful. I can't back this one. It's been doing all types of different running: dirt, Tapeta, turf. 2 is moving in the right direction. At the distance, 2 seconds out of 7 tries and a third. We know it can get the distance. Came in 6th the last race, but only lost by 2.5 lengths. Dexter Haddock riding 13%. 1 for 24. I tell you what, these 7.5K for consideration. I got to say 6 is the one to beat here. No. Maybe 7 going back. No, not 7, 8. I mean, Queen Lucky has some numbers, solid numbers going back. Yeah, this one looks like the one to beat here. So here I'm gonna write down right away number 8. 8 is flying off the page at me. Remember, this is only the first time through. I'm going to go through these again. From everything I've looked, 8 at the distances, 6 on the board, 5 of 12 is one here before. Is staying at the level. It has some races going back that are strong. Gets back to the route where it did its best running. Yeah, I like 8 best. Who are the other ones I consider here? It's close. Now, number 6 has run Marty's Dilemma, has run some races in the past at Monmouth and even one here at Parx. A couple here at Parx that fit this bill. And it was going in the wrong direction, and it seemed to righted the ship last time going to the sprint. Like, look at how it ran from December through March. It was just regressing, and now it seems to have snapped forward. I'm not sure why. I'm talking about number 6. Now, if I can get back to those earlier numbers, I think 6 is definitely a player here. I like that it moved forward. I like the trainer is solid, 14% trainer, Howard Brown. Silvestri Gonzalez up. How can you go wrong there? 18%. Running style definitely fits. The pressing type. Pressers have been winning here at 20, this type of race. 26%, the late pressers. So that's a consideration. So I definitely like the 8 best. Narrowly. Not so narrowly. The 6 has the better jock. I mean, the 8 and 6 are almost a coin flip. When push comes to shove, I might even give the edge to this. I like the 6 and I like the 8. I mean, 2 is a nice one, but this one, it's 1-2 back. Charlie's Wild Angel. See, I try and cover it best I can. Give it a nice once over the first time through. I'm not just glossing over, 3 seconds and make a pick. I started the show I started handicapping. Now, to give you a frame of reference, I started the stream at 3:45. I started handicapping at 3:50. So that's 10. And so far, I'm 36 minutes in, and I'm looking at still getting ready to wrap my first draft of race number 2. So I'm just giving you an idea of what I do, handicapping process when I prep for the show, beginning with starting the handicapping early in the AM to give you the best idea, my best, opinions or selections possible. If you're consider using some of my picks, that I put the time into it, and I looked it over, and I'm going to be looking it over again after scratches. And then when I do shows, I look it over yet. Then I'm seeing them the third time. Okay. You say, why are you looking at it again after scratches? Because the scratches can affect not only some of my horses might be scratched out. Even if they aren't scratched out and others are, scratches affect the pace of the race. Usually, at least somewhat. Maybe an early speed horse it leaves, and it means it's no longer pace duel. Maybe one that winds up being the lone speed, or all different factors. You get the idea. So far, I'm on 8 and 6. The other one that's moving in the right direction, what happened to this 4 at Aqueduct? Yeah, I can't move past the 4, I think. Joe Taylor, trainer, you got a solid jock. It's moving forward, okay? It's moving in the right direction. This Joe Taylor seems to have gotten this one back on track. America's Pride. Yeah. Does have some pace, but it's not really a front running type. Came in 7th, but only 2 back. So the 7th is not really that bad of a figure when you get to it. I like 4. Let me sneak that one in here. I like 8 best, followed by 4 and 6. The 2's a nice little entry, but the others just have a bigger upside, I think. And I don't like that 1 for 24. So I like 8 best, and then 4, 6, somewhat of a question mark after the first time through here. The thing about the 6 is he's Six is really going to have to close into this. But there is a little bit of speed in here, so that's okay. Yeah, I'm a little on the fence about the 6. I'm going to put a question mark next to the 6. But I think that 8 would be okay. If I had to single one, I'd single 8. And the 2, again, I'm not crazy about the 2 with the 1 for 24 or whatever, 1 for 21. I didn't like that. And 4 has Taylor, seems to be moving in the right direction, fairly lightly raced, has that big race at Churchill Downs routing. Did throw a clunker at a mile at Aqueduct, bigger circuit. and it was running at a much higher price, claiming of 16. And let me just go through these and see if there are any big other class-wise. See, one is moving up in class. How can they even move this one up? I don't know. 2. Okay. Now they all seem to be staying at this level. Okay, so class isn't much of a factor. The 1 is moving up recently. All right. I gave this one enough of a once over for now. I like 8 best, and 4 I'm considering. That has some speed, and it might turn out to be the speed over the 3. I know the 3 has some speed, but has a horrible percentages for jockey and trainer. And I really see no route experience. So it might just amount to be the rabbit. Let's take a look at the odds now. Let's see what the opening odds are. These ones are. I like 8 best. Wow, 8 is opening at 9-2. Huh. The favorite here is the 2. The one that's 1 for 24. Get the hell out of here. Charlie's Wild Angel. The others were even faster at the route. And the one that's moving up in class is 4-1. That's the one that does its best running on Peter, and it's been horrible lately on dirt. I can't see. Watch the odds when this race goes off at the track. They're not going to be anything like this. Okay, and the 8 opens at 9-2. The 4 that I like opens at 5-1, and the 6, the closer that has the solid route numbers going back, but it has to close 6-1. So we're not going to get those odds, folks. Queen Lucky, we'll be lucky if we get 3-1 on this one. I keep our fingers crossed. Okay, and yeah, I like 8 best and 4 and 6. I'm kind of a coin flip between those two. But get this, all 3 of them could win. This would be a good race, I think, for the exacta box or a key, maybe key number 8, first and second, with the 4 and the 6. So I gotta think the 8's going to be around, but it's something to think about. We'll see what happens. We'll see how they look on the track, and we'll see what the board says. Well, what's a fair play. But I definitely think if you're starting off a pick 3, using 3 in the first race, maybe if you want to single 3 or add the 7, the early speed in the first race, you're primed here to get those first 2 legs down with a 3-7, 4-6-8, and hope for one of the longer ones to come in, because there can be a case made for all 3 of these, the 4, 6, and the 8. For you multi-race players, they all have redeeming qualities with a shot to win, and I strongly believe that the winner is going to come out of those 3. John, okay, I guess I've been focusing on this. The handicapping. John Alwell, good morning. It's great to hear your opinions. Good morning, John. How's it going? Great to see you this early in the morning as we get started on this Parx card. Jockey on the 4 in the first race has been riding well at Aqueduct. Let me look at that first race. Jamie Torres, number 4 in the first race. Now, I didn't like the 4 in the first race, but I will take it and give it a look-see here since you mentioned it, and I'm not far removed. Oh, Jamie Torres, and he's riding well at Parx too. The numbers of this one just seem light. I mean, it's a consistent entry. Jamie Torres. Right, yeah, he's riding well here too. So we're going to get back at it. I'm going to step away for a second, get the coffee heated up a little bit. And march forward on to race 3. So in race 2, I like the 8 best, followed in the 4 and the 6, but I think they all have a chance. So, in the second look and after the scratches, I'll probably see more. And then, of course, if I get to do the show today, which I plan on doing at this point, um, I'll be seeing these for a third time. And then, of course, get the go from there. And if not a show, I'll at least be able to get these out there, get some selections out there for those of you who usually join the show. So you have an idea who I liked, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back. As John pointed out, thanks for the heads up on Jamie Torres at Aqueduct, John. Have a great day today, John. Thanks for joining us here early in the morning as I go through this card for the very first time, starting from scratch. I'm building the skeleton, formulating of the card, formulating the ideas, getting familiar with the horses, with the entries, with the participants. It's almost like prize fighters going up against each other, but it's not just two. So each race is a contest and getting an idea. Then I start filling in the bones with the meat and the flesh in the second time through the card, which takes place after scratches, where I get even a stronger idea of the race when we see who's actually in there and who's not. Hopefully there aren't many scratches or any at all. And then when I do the show and I go through once come post time, then we start really filling it out completely as I look through the card the third time. So I prep when I get ready to play the races. And I'm taking you through the process right now from the very first time I'm seeing each of the PPs. Got started at 3:45, got the coffee going, first cup of coffee, and started. It was actually 3:50. I got started because I spoke for a few minutes going in, and when I started. So let's move on to race number 3. This isn't a regular show or a show where like usual. It's a show. I figured let's just go through the process, and you'll see how I begin when I look at the races the very first time through. And for some of you beginners out there, you get an idea of the factors I consider when looking over the contenders. I have the TV on. They got foreign racing. Where is that? Tokyo racing. No, I'm not betting Tokyo. I just have that on for the ambiance. It's kind of relaxing. You glance over, you see the horses over there. So sets the mood. Okay, let's look at race 3. Race 3 at Parx is 10 races today. We've been through the first 2. And okay, it's 4:43 now. So you figure I've been about 55. It took me about, and take that, it took me about roughly 50 minutes. So I put about 25 minutes average so far into the first 2 races. So I'm not horsing around. I'm cutting corners when I look these races over. Race 3, 6 furlongs. So once again, if you're just joining us, you'll see the first thing I do. I look at the type of race. It's a claiming race. I get the price, 25K claimers. It's a sprint, 4-year-olds and up, which have never won 2 races. Okay. The next step. How many contenders are there in this race? Okay, there's not many, 6. So this one will probably take a little less time, maybe more than a little less time, but we'll see. So we got 6 entries. I go look at some of the buyer notes here from the buyer figures and from the DRF site. And just to get a snapshot glance at the figures and see if there are any that look like dogs or any that look like standouts from the figures. The 5 looks like a potential standout. The 1 looks outright slow. I avoid the odds. I don't look at the odds. I want to formulate my own opinion. 2 does have a good race in there. 3 has a good race, and 4 looks a little slow compared to the others, but it does have a race 2 back that looks okay, and the 4 is getting spotted weight. So let's go a step further and start looking for patterns with these horses and see who stands out. And since it's a sprint, now the distance plays a factor. Are there any out there that tend to be much quicker than the others early on? So we look into all of that stuff. Now it's 6 furlongs. All right. One actually does have a halfway decent race, 3 back, sprinting early. One has a little early speed. So I'm looking at pace here. The E1 rating and E2 ratings on the Brisnet, they give you an idea who's can set the pace. Two has some early speed. One has some early speed. One does have early speed here. 6 furlongs at the distance was one usually goes, never quite runs, always runs these half furlongs, 7 furlongs, 5.5 furlongs. This is an even 6 trainer, 5% trainer, decent jock. Five has some big early speed. Excellent jock, Sanchez, 21% at this meet. 6 ran an allowance race last race. This is a 25K claim. Strong jockey. James Noble, the trainer, race fairly unknown. They only show 3% for 34 races, but looks like a contender. Previously trained by Pino. All right, this is the first time through, so I'm shooting around. Again, if you're just joining us, this is first time I look at these. I'm glancing at different factors: the claiming price, the class level, the early speed. I began by looking at how many entries there are. There are only 6 in here. Now I'll go back to some of these. I think the one has early speed, but the numbers just look too light. Even at its best, there are others faster. So I don't like the one. So I'll get rid of that one right away. I don't look at the odds early. It has a good jock in Silvestri Gonzalez. Actually ran its stakes company 2 back. But it's not going to squirt free against this bunch. Number 2 does have back races fast enough to win this. Sempre Fidelis. It seems to be moving. It goes back to its races in November of 2021, though. That's a long time. It's a 5-year-old. The one is getting some weight from the others as a 3-year-old. But I just can't. I can't go there. I can't go there. Others look better. Six looks too slow. It looks too slow. I mean, it does have a race at Penn National a couple back. At Parx, it's 0-for-1 at the distance. It ran a good race at Penn 2 back. Trainer is 14%. The jock, good jock, 19% jockey, but usually doesn't run. Has no record here. I prefer others. 5 is standing out. by the pace. I think it's going to benefit from the turn back from 7 to 6. Comes off a big race last race. The last time it ran this big. Okay, this one had run. I was going to say last time it ran this big, it threw a clunker, but the clunker it threw was on turf. So we can let that one go. Got Sanchez up 21%. The trainer is weak, but one win out of 34 races. That's going back. It's James Noble. I'm really not familiar with this James Noble. But they do show first start with the team, 1 for 7, 14%. By the numbers, I think this perfect silent cat, the cat horse, for you cat horse players, 5 is the one for you. 5-year-old, 1 win out of 15 tries. Sanchez up. Yeah, 5 is definitely a contender. All right. And the other one that I like is by the numbers, big solid numbers here is the 3. And you got a tremendous trainer. Batter up Bud, closing type. Robert Reed, 31%, 45 races at this meet, 31%. The guy's on fire. And the jockey, 9%, but Abner Adorno, 12% overall, covering over 900 races. I think this one might be the one to beat, actually, more so than the Silent Cat. Because the Silent Cat is going to wind up hooked up in a duel, I believe, with the 1, whereas the 3 has a really strong closing kick, and they do list it as a closer. How closers doing at this distance? 18%. Early speed is the 4, they say. Solid talent. So far, I like 3 best. I know it's a closer, but I like 3 better. So now it looks like we got 3 early running types, and I think this sets up for the 3. And the 3 has some back races here in January and February that can get it done. 1 for 10. Robert Reed. 3, I definitely like 3 best. Is there anybody else? Do I want to move is there anybody else I want to include in this? And the 4 by the pace figures, I know they list 4 as early speed, but the other ones are faster than this one early. And the other ones, the 5 is an early pressing type, and the 2 is also an early pressing type. I both think they can get the jump on the 4. Golden Talent, though, does have that big race going back. That was a Gulfstream at the distance. You got a solid trainer. Juan Avila, 18%. And jockey is solid, 12%. I think the 4 is one to consider. If you want it to spread, what if it gets loose and runs away? You ran Allowance Company last race here. What happened? Ran very wide and faltered. Went off at 41-1. He has that one race. I like 3 best, 5 second best, but I'm going to add 4 with a question mark and leave it at that here for this 3rd race. What about what about number 2? I got to go back because he has Pennington up. Robert Reed trains both the 2 and the 3. Tough call. At the distance, has run well at the distance. Let me look at this 3 best race at the distance. I mean, the 2 does have the best race at the distance. No, actually, the 4 does. What type of running style? The 2 is going to be part of that early speed. This really sets it up for the 3. I'm going to leave it as it is. In race number 3, I like 3 best, followed by 5 and 4. I got to, if it runs its best race, 4 can win. And they listed as the best early speed. Is it the best early speed? Only once did it show the early speed, or twice, fast enough to get this done. And both of those times it was at Gulfstream Park, which is a fast track to begin with. And it got a dry track at Parx at 7 furlongs last time in an allowance race. It is dropping. Solid trainer. So it's one to consider with the class drop and some of the early speed. 0 for 2 at Parx, though. So I like 3 and 5 best. I believe the winner comes out of those 2. 3, especially Batter Up Bud, Robert Reed. And if you're going to spread in multis, the 4, throw the 4 in. But I think you can probably get it done with the 3 or the 5. So that's who I like. So now I'm going to look at the odds here of these entries. We'll go back. All right, the 3 who I like best is opens at 7-2. The 5 who I like also, it's almost a thing, 3 and 5. I wouldn't want to take a solid stand. I'd want to use both of these on top. The 5 is the favorite, opens 2-1. And the 4, who I like third best, or one to consider also, opens at 6-1. So far so good here. So I'm landing on one that's not the favorite. And the 2 who I didn't like, who I'm not including, is the second choice at 3-1. So we got a 5-2, a 2-1, and a 6-1 here. So that's who I like in race 3. This is the first time through. So, and then again, I'm going to be going through this a second time after the scratches. And then if I do this either way, if I'm able to do the show, which looks so far, I'll probably be able to do it today. I'll be looking at a third time. But if not, either way, I'll get some picks out there, one way or the other, and you'll see where I go from there. So in roughly an hour and 10 minutes, we've give or take a couple minutes less, just under an hour and 10 minutes. Covered the first 3 of 10 here at Parx. Now we move on to race number 4. Again, what I do first, I see how many entries we have, and I scan the entries so I get an idea. And there's only 7 entries in the 4th race. And the clock strikes 5. We were out here at 3:45 a.m. This is not the usual type of show. I figured I'd go and cover the races present you, especially those of you who are interested in the handicapping process. Maybe you want to learn about what to look for when you see the PPs for the first time. You're like, where do I start? What do I do? Oh, here they all are. What do I do next? What I'm doing here is I'm showing you how I address the races what I do when I see the PPs for the very first time. And hopefully, maybe it gives you an idea. Maybe it gives you new ideas, or maybe it helps you get going. And those of you who've been with me either while I've been making the racing report or horse racing otherwise know that I've been a winning player for years now. and gain that notoriety. And so I'm taking you behind the curtains, like the Wizard of Oz, right? You know, you go behind the curtain and see what the hell's going on over there. So you see, I'm not just sitting around throwing at a dartboard or playing the cat horses or the gray horses. I don't go out there looking for the grays. And we go from there, pulling numbers out of a hat. All right, so we got six, let's see, 7 entries again. Okay. Let's see then the next thing I do. Okay, we got 7 entries, and I see what type of race it is. It's a maiden claim 10K, and I note the the claiming prices to see who's going up and down in price. So you take the price, the claim, the class of the horse into effect. But I see the distance, the mile and 70. So now I could start seeing, okay, which ones, who has races at the distance, and what races can you pretty much throw out along the running lines because the race doesn't, or put less weight that way. You don't want to throw any races out, but you want to see the ones that carry the most weight, that matter today. So mile and 70, we got these. Let's see the running styles of these horses. So I slip to the bottom. Now, again, Brisnet, they assign each horse a running style, whether it's early speed or early pressing type, ones that can either go to the lead or they usually like to just be off the leader. They run quick, or late pressing type, P types or late pressers. They, back a few lengths, and then the closers. So that's the S types. And early speed has been winning this type. And they do show 5 as the only ones that are early speed. And these running styles are computer generated. So you're going to have to do the legwork if you want to get it right. And by checking the pace, how it's run pace-wise by the E1 or E2 types, or LP, which is late pace. So you go the extra mile there, and I'll shoot to 5 for a second. And already I'm seeing they listed as an early speed type, and there are others. The 7, for example, has shown more early speed than the 5, but let's go a little further. I see some are stretch out horses here. Now these 10K claimers. Now look, any droppers in here. If 4 is dropping in class from 16K, so is 6. I like to scroll through these and get an idea. Now it's a mile. Who can handle this distance? I'll start by saying number 1 seems to be really slipped off last race. What the hell happened? Optional claim. Okay, so you get that solid trainer there. 0 for 21. Oh. Has 6 times in the money at the distance out of 13 tries, 5 times in the money at Parx, 9 races, 3 seconds and 2/3. Get spotted weight. We got an apprentice jockey riding. 0 for 14 here. It's hard for me to like this one. I don't like that last race at all. 0 for 21 I don't like. Two is stretching out. Wanavia. Does he have? So same trainer for the 1 and the 2. Now the 2 ran a 65 at 7 furlongs. Okay. Now this is a mile 70. Breeding for the distance. Yeah, nothing really to write home about. Hard for me to like any of these, really. Hey, the 7 looks very lightly raced. 7 closed well last race. James Noble, trainer. There's that James Noble again. He had one last race, that 3% guy, 1 for 34. Jockey. Luis Rivera, 8% jock. What a bunch, folks. I'm looking now. I talk about the prime power number at Brisnet. Now that you hear me mention that, I say it's a computer generated number. If you've watched the shows before, that it's not race specific or surface or distance specific. It's a computer generated snapshot of the horse's body of work. So here's a time where I'm looking at these and I have a general idea of who I like, but now let's go to the prime power and see. Let's get a snapshot of these cheap claimers. These horses seem to be all over the place, which you get in these cheap races. So I'm looking at the prime power now to get that snapshot and try and maybe add a little clarity. This is where that snapshot helps my handicapping, maybe points me in a direction to get moving further in this. And here they do list the highest Brisnet ranking is Grand Canyuna. That's the 2, but it's close. Blackwater Falls is the 2nd, and that's the 4. So let's go back and look at those and just see if 2 and 4 really deserve. Now, the 2 I talked about, that's the one I was just talking about, that El Grand Canyana, the one that snapped forward when it went to Avia's barn. So lightly raced, only 4 races. It did take money last time, was 1.9 to 1, had been running at the 20K level. Second time out with the team with Avia, 13%. Has a jockey that's red hot, Carlos Olivero, 27% at the meet for 15. And 23% overall out of 64 races. Wow. But not an apprentice, huh? I guess 120 pounds is coming in light. I know the 1's coming in a little light. I don't like the 1. I don't like the 0 for 21. And I don't like that last race. Got whipped. It's been losing by open lengths. Oh, my God. Oh, I can't go with 1. The 0 for 14 jock, 0 for 45 jock on the 1. No way. So the 2 I do like. I want to say, I check the chat. Lithoid. Hey, Lithoid. How's it going? Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning, Coach Al. Hope you've been well. No handicapper puts the work in that you do. Much appreciated. Good to see you, Lithoid. Thanks for joining us here. Yeah, I'm looking at the horses here for the first time. It's the very first time through the card, getting ready for the show. So I figure you get to see what I do, how I address each race when I'm starting the handicapping from scratch. So much appreciated. I'm glad you enjoy the show, and yeah, I'm glad you appreciate it. You get to see what's going on. You know, I'm not throwing at a dartboard here. So you got to prep. You know, you want to win at this, and you want to be confident when you go in there and relaxed and enjoy the races because you've been through the card before and you have an idea of what these contenders can do. So you're not going in there on your knees or praying for the race or biting your nails or any crap like that. you put in the work, and then you'll find the races much not only more enjoyable, but you'll win more, and you'll be confident going in. Have a good morning, Lithoid. Have a great day today. Glad you could join us here, and anybody else who's joined us too. So where are we? Okay, yeah. So 2 I like. I know it hasn't run the distance. It does have it worked out well. It hasn't worked out since its first race, but workout before, well, March 13th was okay. Why no workouts? I guess they're saving all the energy for this race. And you got the trainer. So I do like the 2. Do I like the 2 best? Now, remember, I'm looking for ones that maybe have route experience. The 1 does have route experience, but I don't like the jock with the 0 for 45, or I don't like the 0 for 24 or whatever for it. Now, what happened to number 6 is what I want to know. ET's Code Red has only 1 race, and it was horrible. But it is dropping. What happened? It trailed and lost contact with the field. It didn't show any speed at all. Trainer is 0 for 15 at the meet. Gets the solid jock in Laprida, 15%. I'm just looking at past workouts here. All the workouts are slow. Did have a bullet in February. Even that was only a bullet. First of 5, 37 and 2 for 3 furlongs. You know, I'd be gambling if I included this one. So it shows no current works since before its maiden race. I can't go there with the 6. It would be a reach. What about number 5, Shadow Bay? Now, they list this one as the lone early speed type. I don't really see much in the way of speed there. It's hard for me to like any of these. But I do like the 2 a bit. I do like the trainer, and I like the fact that it's moving forward. Second race with the team, get the jock. Solid, great Olivero up, a very high percentage. I mean, 4 has been moving forward, but it's never run at a route, and it is dropping in class. Let me check that 4. Closing type. Okay, it's 4 races at Parx, 2 seconds. Out of Union Rags, 12% jock. I mean, it has a couple of seconds, is dropping. Maybe it needs that drop. Bryant, the trainer, only a 9% trainer. Another trainer, never really, not familiar with him. I don't think anyone's too familiar with him. Only 34 starts going back to the start of 2022. Jockey, though, is okay. 12% at the meet. Joseph Treos, 14 wins, 117 starts. Going through these, looking at these PPs and handicapping. For anyone joining us for the very first time, you're seeing the process I go through. All right. Well, having a hard time with this 4 here. I really don't trust it entirely. this trainer. We got to go back to the 5. A 5 is moving in the right direction. We know it can get the distance. Did come in second at this distance, March 8th. It probably will have to improve, but a little bit to catch the 2. But the 2 we don't know what the 2 is going to do at the distance. It does, at the race 2 back, it did show a little bit of speed. They listed it as an early speed type, but I'm not going by that. I'm just going by the fact that it was running near the front and it did get the distance. So I do like the 5. So from a torn between the 2 and the 5, I think I prefer the 5. Let me go back to the 2 a second. No. Yeah, 2. 2's making its second start. You got the jockey. I like 2 best, followed by the 5. And the 1 I'm going to look at here, who's all over the place, very lightly raced. This James Noble, he has another entry. He has a 6 enter. How many horses does this guy have? Unknown trainer, 34 starts, 1 winner. How many times have I named him today? Like 3 or 4. This at least the 4th time, and I think he has 2 entries in this race. No, he just has 1. I like the closing kick of the 7. Lost by 17 lengths. Used to be trained by Pino. At least he ran here. Has run a couple at a route distance. He had a 65 on the turf, so we know he can get the distance. He's been on Tapeta. He's been on turf. He's been at Gulfstream. Ran his first at Parx, and he closed well last race, 82 closing kick. Rivera up, the jockey, 11% overall, 674 races, 8% at the meet. I just like the fact that it's slightly raced. It has been running at higher levels. I don't see a work. He's coming back in only 7 days. Let me throw 7 in with a question mark. I think it goes through 2. I like 2 best followed by 5. 2 and 5 are the 2 I would use in multi-race plays. I'm 7. It does have a couple of numbers in here that fit. Oh boy. I mean, 7, if he runs the race that he ran on turf in January at Gulfstream, he fits. I mean, what happened? Trailed throughout. That was at 20K. Okay. And he's been claimed once after its first race. Now, this is going to be the 4th trainer this one has, James Noble. So I got 7 with a question mark. So in race 4, we've been through that. I like 2 best, 5 and 7. And again, I'm going to be going through these another time after the scratches. I got started here at 350. So 4 races. So you got 21 minutes, an hour and 21 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes, and to look over the first 4 races for the first time. So I'm building the skeleton here. And then we'll start filling in that skeleton after the scratches. And then when I go live, then this is what happens when I do a show. Then when I go live, I really fill it in. I see what's going on the board. I see what the horses look like uh, when during the post parade, and see what the odds are. And because after the scratches, things can change. We're up to race number 5. Okay, and I just got to get some fresh coffee. It's not a regular show, but I'll be back in just a little bit, and we'll continue onwards here as I prep for today's racing at Parx. And I want to wish everyone a very good morning, or whenever you're watching this, good morning or great day. And as I take you through the handicapping process, starting from scratch, having not seen the PPs at all in prepping for a card, I'll be back in a little bit. All right, we're back. Handicapping process from start to finish. Looking at these for the first time. I just made a half a cup of instant here. I finished off a little bit of the Death Wish coffee. I had a little bit of that left from yesterday. Heated that up, and I'll brew a fresh pot later. But yeah, I just want to get at it now. Something to carry me through here as I look at these races. Now, I didn't mention I came up with 257 for race 4. It just dawned on me that I didn't go back and look at the odds. Let's see what the odds of these contenders are that I picked for that I liked initially first time through the card for the last race. At 257. The 2, yeah, okay. This time I landed on the opening favorite. It's the one I like best as well. El Gran Cayaya. Okay, 5-2. The 5, Shadow Bay. That's 4-1. It's not the second choice. So I landed a 4-1. And the other one that I like that interests me a little, that I have a question mark next to, is number 7. Opens at 5-1. Uncle Mark. And the second choice, number 4, I didn't like. Okay, and that one is 7-2. But the odds makers made it a wide open race. The favorite's 5-2, and the long shot is 6-1 out of 7 entries. But I think we get the winner out of these. Comes out of these 3. I'm pretty comfortable with that. I think this could be a good multi-race card. Let's see how many times, going back to the first race, how many times I landed on the morning favorite as my top choice. In race 1, I landed on the third choice, 9-2 shot. Did I have the opening favorite in there? I did have the opening favorite in there as my second choice, 7. And my third choice, a 10-1 shot. So I wasn't on the favorite in that race. In the second race, I liked 8 best, and that would open 9-2. And my second choice, 5-1, and I actually didn't like either of the first 2 choices, the 2 3-1 and the 1 4-1. So I'm not just eating chalk. And when I look through these, I handicap them before looking at the odds. Let's see. In race 3, I actually landed on the 1-2, the third choice, number 3, Batter Up Bud, 7-2. 5, I did like. I'm almost torn between that and the 5 is 2-1, the second choice. But I have 3 listed first, who opens 7-2. And I had the 4 as my third choice, a 6-1 shot. Yeah, and so I didn't even like the second choice, which is 3-1. And then I just talked about the first the race 4. So we'll move on to race 5 and bring up these PPs. As I look at this card the first time, these PPs the first time, you get to see the process that I go through when handicapping the races the first time through. And again, I'll go first thing I'll look at, I'll see how many entries there are. And I see we have 8 entries here. And it's another route, 1.70 for 3-year-olds and up. Okay, so some of them are getting spotted weight. The 3-year-olds, 121, the older, 126. And the claiming price is $15K. I take note of the claiming price to see if there are any moving up or down. And we'll go from there. 8 entries. So I'm seeing these the first time through. First time through the card, naturally there are no scratches. Second time through the card, I'll start filling in filling in the framework, filling in the skeleton with some flesh or organs and whatever. And the third time through, when I do the show, then I really round it out. We get to see what the horses look like. We know the scratches, because after scratches can affect the race. who's the pace, get an idea of that. Who's going to be are there any front runners in here? Are there any that can get the distance? All right, so we got eight. We got 8 entries. Now we'll start looking at post positions and what type of who does well at what. So I shoot around in the beginning, but I have an idea. I get a quick snapshot, and then start going from there. So now what I start to do is I look down and scan the speed figures or the numbers, and see if there are any that look immediately that stand out, or any that don't. Okay. And I don't look at the odds. Well, at first glance, I see Ness has an entry, number 3. I notice this one's sprinting all the time, and the others look better so far. I see number 5 has some big back races and hasn't been good recently. Is dropping from allowance company. Huh. Another competitive race, folks. Now I'm looking at number 8, and now let's look at the sheer numbers. It just jump bowl 87, 81, 86. Running styles, they list early speed types as 2 and 8. Now, early speed has been winning for early speed. 46% have been winning this type of races, covering 106 races at this type of race. That's at the bottom of the Brisnet charts. I see this race is very competitive. I'm curious what the odds. I'll see the odds after the race. Early 46%. Early pressing 27%. So 73% are coming from the early speed types. Okay. And even the inside post positions are winning the most. Hey, one thing that jumps out at me here for starters, this number 5 has 2 giant races, but they're going back, even in January, 2 really big races at Parx. December and January. Now we're not too far removed from then. And this one seemed to regress after changing trainers. Willie MC. It's a pressing type. Can they go back to those races? I mean, the last 3 numbers, 76, 66, 81. But before that, it had 1, 2 straight with a 90 and 88, both here at Parx at a mile and one at a mile and 16. Gets Jeremy Laprida today for Flores, 10% at the meet, 18% overall, 23% in routes, claiming races, 22. It drops from, I mean, something happened to this horse, William C. It's just, it just went completely south. Is something wrong with this? Can it go back to those races? I hate the last races. I can't back it really to win, but what I will do just based on those earlier races is I'm going to put number 5 on the back with a question mark. You know, do I want it to win, or it's question mark means it requires more thought. But I am making note of it just based on those figures, which really only go back 4 months ago, where it was running lights out. You know, was it juiced for those races? And this is, I'm just showing you right here that I look at the cycles of a horse. Sometimes when a horse moves backward, it started to move a little bit forward last race. Like maybe it was starting to, maybe it's poised to move back. I mean, you got a very strong trainer here, and you got a good jock. And it's dropping from the allowance company. Did work out on April 11th. At least they got it on the track. 23rd of 41, 50 and 2 for 4 furlongs. It just basically, you got to respect those numbers. I mean, you got a 22% trainer and claiming. So 5 is definitely one I'm considering here. One I'm going to here is an early speed type inside, coming off 2 really strong races. A first by 5. Now it's moving, jumping up in class. A first by 5 lengths and a pair of seconds before that. 91 speed figure, 84. Before that, at Parx, in the money all 6 times. 6 races, 2 firsts, 3 seconds, and a third. Early speed inside. Now I'm going to, you know, these speed ratings, running styles are computer generated. So now I'm going to take it a step further and see if this one really does have, is it fast enough early to really command the lead? It has a favorable post position. I mean, first after the claim. Now, this is first after the claim. Miguel Rodriguez hits 18%. Up 2 classes. That's a concern. Did show a nice early speed there. And did get claimed for 7.5. How's it run at a higher levels? It has some nice numbers at the allowance level, but that was at Penn National in Delaware back in October, November. Now it's been running at 2 back. It showed a big closing ability. So I would think this one is more of an, yeah, I guess it's more early running style, but 2 back, it ran an 84 and finished second, but it had 100 closing kick. Okay, that was on a wet track. 2 must be respected. Let's go and see how the speed figures into this here. Pace-wise, who else? Is there somebody else that's a standout pace type horse? 3 has some pace, but it's stretching out. What about the 1? The 1, 3 looks more like a closer, has some nice numbers. Has Scott Lake, must be respected, 2 for 3 at Parx. And that's another one moving way up in class. No, it stays at the same level. Has a pair of seconds. Six ran a 90 last time out, moving up in class. For James Noble, again, this 1 for 34 guy, all over the place today. Not an easy race, folks. 8, Jamie Ness and Pennington. This one, last time it won was November of 2021 at Laurel. Very consistent. At Parx, now the 8 does have speed. It seems to be a second place machine. Or whatever. Nah, it's in the money 15 out of 20 times. Always in the money at Parx. 4 races, a win, 2 seconds, and a third. At the distance, in the money 9 out of 11. 5-year-old. Usually takes money. I mean, 8 got to be considered. Pennington, Ness. Its last workout was in January, but it was a bullet, first of 63. Burning some money, favored in 3 of the last 4, won none of them. 2 seconds and 2/3. And I think this 8, it does have early speed, but not by much. I think 3 might give it some trouble early, but they may not send the 3 because it's a sprinter. Shooting around, first time through the card. I mean, the 8 showed excellent early speed at Laurel last out. Is this one going to go? Are they just going to try and wire with it? What about the 6? I think the 2's been on the improve. 7, Texas Basin. Tough call here, folks. I know the 2's moving up, but I like the number that it put up last time. So that's definitely one of the ones I'm going to be keeping my eye on. I like the trainer. The jock is solid, 24% jock, Angel Rodriguez. Yeah, this is a spread. The 7 showed. I know it's stretching out. It does have route experience. It did fire at Laurel in May of 2022, a 90 on a wet track at 1 1/8 miles. So we know it can get the distance. It 1-2 back here. The 7 is definitely a player. As far as the ones with route experience, I'm tied. I know the 8 is 2's moving up in class. 8 runs its race. It should be around, probably finish no worse than second. I'll give the 8 an edge here in this race. This is going to be a barn burner. And then I'll put a dash next to the 8, 8-2. Those are the 2 I like best. They're both early speed types. Now remember, this is a spread race, and I like the 5. The 5 is the one that has the big numbers back in December and January, and it's dropping from the allowance. So I'll make sure to put an arrow next to it that it's going down. If the 5 runs its race, it wins, but it hasn't run. It's went backwards since it left the Bravo Estrada barn. Yeah, I'm a little leery about the 5. 5, the running lines that I'm seeing here tell me something's wrong. but it did move back up. It had run 88.90. And then after entering Flores Coba's barn, slipped to an 81. You see what happened when Coba got this one? Coba started running it. It had been running 88.90s at the 7,500 10K claiming level, and then this Coba starts entering it in allowance races, and it's been getting whipped. 24 lengths, 23 lengths, 11 lengths. Maybe they put it back and, drop it down. Maybe it comes back a little bit. Who knows? But maybe he threw this one into the deep end of the pool. Had been claiming runner all as back far as I can see. And then all of a sudden, 3 straight allowance races and getting crushed. Yeah, 5 runs back to it's at, with this class relief, maybe it does something. Has a workout on the 11th. So my 8-2, but the other one I'm looking at here is 7. Pressing type. It has an excellent closing kick. It has run good numbers when it's stretched out. At Parx, 5 races, a win and a third. Dropping from the allowance, a 22% trainer after the claim, Richard Vega. I'm actually going to go, I like 8 best, but I think the others to consider for victory here are 2-7. So would I use 2-7-8 as the 3 here that I go with? If going multi-race plays. Those are the 3 I like best. And then if spreading, what about the 5? Now we'll just go back and look at the others. I think I've taken this as far as I can go. Paradise Pride, number 4, claimed from Nest. Now this one has 3 straight races of second place finishes. This is not an easy race. And you got 3 with the early speed. 2 has a couple second place finishes. 1 has a couple second place finishes. 3 is another Nest entry. But 3 is going to be part of the speed too. And Silvera is riding. Paradise Pride, Michael Simone. It did get beat by Croshan. Who's this one? Got beat by the 6 last out. I can't take them all. The 6 is moving up in class. No, it's staying at the left. Yeah, it is moving up in class. So is the 4. I can't take them all. The 2 seems to be moving forward ever so slowly, and they're moving up in class. But Rodriguez is a strong trainer. Number 2 I'm talking about. Up 2 classes, 6%. So he's done this before. Up 2 classes, that's the thing. So I'll put, even though I like 2 as a win contender, I'll put an upwards arrow next to it, and I'll just see what's going on there. As we get closer, I could get an idea on the board what's going on. And so I likely won't play a pick 3 in race 3 because there's too many moving parts in the 5th. If I spread, I might land on a 4 to 5 shot Nest. But there's a lot going on here. But I see who I've landed on in this race, in race 5. And that is 827 is the main win contenders. I have 8 slightly. I think 7. If I had to pick just 2, I'd probably go 8-7 and the 2. I mean, the 2's good, but it's an early. Yeah, you can make a case for all of these. And does the horse know what class it's in? I don't know, but this is only the first time through. And so let's look at the odds here for this race. So I landed on 8 is the one I like best, a slim margin. That's Playman, and that's the Ness entry, early speed type. And it turns out to be the favorite at 5-2. But I'll tell you what, at 7 with the closing kick and the way it has run a 90 at the mile on a wet track, it can get the distance. Wow. The 3 I like best are 8, which is 5-2, and the 2 and 7. Both of them are 10-1. And the 5, who I have a question mark, is also 10-1. So this has the potential to be a very interesting race, being that 3 of the ones I like are 10-1. And I mentioned that all of them, I believe, have a shot to win this. And they're the ones I like best. And the number 1, which I didn't include, it opens at 7-2. Now, this is just the first time through. Number 1 opened 7-2, and I wasn't on that chalk. Number 3, the other Nest, the one that's never been tested at the distance, stretching out, that's going to be maybe the front runner early, is 9-2, and I don't have that one. Number 4, I don't have, opened 6-1. Number 6, I don't have. Both of them moving up in class. That's 6-1. So I'm on 3 of the longest shots on the board. Now, they open between 5-2 is the favorite, and 10-1 is this 3 at 10-1, which is the high watermark as far as opening lines. And I got all 3 of those 10-1s as win contenders, along with number 8 at 5-2. This will probably be a good race for exactas. I don't know if I want to go as deep as tries, but maybe even a spread exacta if we can get those prices on the 2-5, more so the 2-7. The 7 is the one that the 5 is my biggest question mark, but it is dropping. But the 7 with the closing kick comes off a 73 buyer figure, and the 2 is coming off the high buyer figure last race. Artistic Reason, early speed inside, 76. 8, 2, 7, and 5. The 8, 5-2. Pennington and Ness. The one I kind of like, but that's the one that just seems, its last race was at Laurel. That's the one that seems to always burn. He's burned money 3 out of the last 4, and this time he's going to face other early speeds. Yeah, tough race, folks. 8, 2, 7. Those are the ones I like there, and 5 also some interest. That's the first 5 races, handicap from scratch. So that's what I'm going to cover right now. Soon I'm going to just relax a little bit and shower up, get ready to go, and start the day. Look further, then can continue on with this card, and I'll probably be live later, so be on the lookout for that. They start at 12:40 at Parx. If we do a show today, if I can, I will get one in. I think that's the way it's going to go. But you see how I prep for the races. From the very first time I look at the card and see the PPs for the first time, how I address the races. Maybe it gives you some ideas if you're a new handicapper, or if you're a seasoned handicapper, maybe it gives you some angles that you hadn't thought of before. But you see how I address the card from scratch. So have a terrific Monday, everybody. If you're watching this, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you're playing, look those races over in advance. You won't be sorry. You'll be more comfortable. You have an intimate knowledge of the horses. And again, this is just the first time through the card. and I'll be going through it again after the scratches, making adjustments. And then when I do a show, then I'm seeing them for the third time. So I'm pretty comfortable going in. So have a great day, everybody. Enjoy, all the best, and talk with you soon.